Alright guys, this is James with Energy Audit & Co. In this video, we're going to talk about common areas that we see a lot of builders fail their building thermal envelope tests. And what the purpose of this video is to kind of give you some examples of what we typically see going wrong, and so you can get ahead of it. And throughout this is going to be a little more educational. I'm going to have to go in a little more detail about why all this stuff fails. So the first one is that light fixtures aren't ready, right? If you don't have all your light fixtures in, this basically acts like a hole in the drywall, right? And so that hole, let's say, is right there, right? And then what happens is when we have the blower door set up and then it's just pushing air out, what's going to happen is air is going to work its way into that guy right there, and then it's going to cause a leak. So that's why we need to have all the light fixtures installed. If you are installing a like a recessed can like this, what you want to do is have a gasket between the light itself. Light fixture usually looks something like that, and you like the drywall, right? So there's usually a gasket that goes right between these two materials. Make sure that's installed. If you can't, make sure you try and caulk it. If you have enough recessed lights, that will cause it to fail. So just keep that in mind. Next thing we're going to talk about here, this one's a little bit unusual, so I'll give them that. But what we have in this photo, I understand it's a little hard to see, is gaps underneath the flooring. Right. And so this, I'll show you kind of why this matters, right? So we have our frame right here, right? And imagine that's all wood. And we have, let's see, infinitesimally small gap between our sill plate and our foundation. And if we have gaps like this that are present, what'll happen is that naturally we set up the blower door, it starts running and it starts pushing air out, and what do you know? We have air that gets sucked in through there. And so a good fix right here, I mean, you can try the expansive foam route. You can also try caulking. If, you know, we did a house one time, and this is the gap I'm referring to right there. We did a house one time where the gap was so large between those two materials that we just recommended that they put backer rod right in there. And backer rod just basically a tube. You just slide it in right there, stuff it in, caulk on top of that. I'm trying to draw a little too much here. That's my thing of caulking right there. Run it all along there, smush it all in, you'll be good. But you want to check for areas like this to make sure that they are not leaking. All right, and they don't have gaps there. Here's an unusual one I'll show you guys, and it's behind fireplaces. So what I would recommend that this contractor does is go and hit this area with either caulking or expansive foam right all along in there. And you want to get the stuff that's like fire rated if possible. It's just something that can resist all that high heat. So that'll help out a lot. You'll also see right in there, do you guys see that? Where those two materials meet, where the drywall meets the framing. We'll also want to have that sealed. And then mind you, they're going to lay an entire like fireplace over this thing, right? Look to see if it has a gasket between the actual, like, the fireplace probably looks something like that, right? And let's say our wall looks like this, right? We'd want to have a gasket installed here, if possible, if it comes with the thing. If not, don't worry about it. If you've got this whole thing all sealed up, we should be good. All right, next one. Now, what we're talking about here is exhaust fans. Exhaust fans, and I guess in this case, HVAC registers. Okay. Couple things to talk about here. So I guess we'll start with these HVAC registers. We're gonna have a small gap between that material, between the drywall and the can, and it's like 1/4 of an inch, right? It's typically what we see. We typically have a 1/4 inch gap between those two materials, and hit that with some caulking, and that'll help solve the issue right then and there. Another thing is that if you see they have this pookied, right? That's great. You might not realize this, but if your HVAC system isn't fully installed, it will cause your building thermal envelope test to fail. Little example of that, right? I'm just going to draw, this is our giant attic that's in here, right? If we have our FAU that's sitting in here, We have our FAU that's sitting in here, right? And we have all of its ductwork going down and connecting to everything, right? When we run our blower door, and it pushes all the air out, it's going to be fine, theoretically, right? It's actually not going to do too much. We're going to have some low pressure inside the attic, and then that air is going to try and fight its way through these areas. So air will be trying to fight its way in through there. The other important thing, though, the reason I'm really bringing this up, is that if your AC system is not fully installed, and so let's say that this whole thing is gone, right? No FAU installed at all. When this guy here starts really blowing, what's going to happen is you're going to have low pressure that comes into the attic, right? Because there's going to be lower pressure inside than outside. Low pressure is going to come inside the attic, and then where's it going to go? Right through the ductwork. Your ductwork is basically going to act like two giant openings because we don't have that FAU installed like we had before, right? And if we have disconnected ductwork altogether, what'll happen? We have that, and let's just say this guy is fully not installed. We have a duct running here, and then we have a duct that should be installed, but it never made the connection all the way. Once again, you can quickly see that once we start blowing this test, air is going to just run right in through here and into the home. Oops. And we do not want that. So this turns into a place for duct leakage. Another thing, as it primarily relates to exhaust fans, is that if your exhaust fan, say here's a bathroom, right? If your exhaust fan, let's say here's its exhaust duct, right? If this guy doesn't have a damper, which is like a door, right, that just falls open and shut, it can have one right here, location 1. We can have one that's inline right there, or we can have a third one that is right here at the end. If we don't have a damper at either of those locations, we'll when we run the test, air will just get sucked in right through this guy. It'll honestly just like we depressurize the building, and then what happens? The air comes in right through there, and it goes straight out. So that's another place where you can typically fail this test, is that if your exhaust fans and your HVAC registers aren't well sealed. There's an exhaust damper, I believe right there. We'll want, yeah, that's the one that needs it, the damper and everything. So those are kind of like the common areas. As you can see, the main idea is just getting all the drywall sealed. And the other one has to really relate with the exhaust dampers and the HVAC system. Some areas to think about, right, are all of your outlets, getting all those fully installed. We want to have smoke detectors, T-stats, recessed lights. I'd also really recommend caulking underneath the drywall. And what I mean by that is that if you have your home right there, just like hitting this area right here around all the floors with caulking would be ideal. Hitting all those areas, attic lid, large openings in drywall. So if you have a giant hole in your drywall somewhere, like outside of all these other things right here, right? If you have some other giant hole, just get that thing patched and sealed. Finish HVAC, especially if it's a ducted system, and that kind of puts you right there. You should be good. If you want, we can come out there, do an inspection. We do charge for that, but it's less than what it costs for a full testing of the home. So if you found this video useful, be sure to drop us a like. If you have any questions about building thermal envelope testing, be sure to reach out. My name is James with the Energy Auditing Co. We serve Las Vegas, and we're a third-party approved inspection firm here in the Valley, and we love to work with you.